In the previous video, we created our parts for our worm and wheel. Now we're going to assemble and animate them. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my bearing. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to fix that bearing into place. So I'm going to come here and go to my revolve and I'm going to choose the center point of that hole right there. And I want to coincide that with the center point of my bearing. So the thing I can check, because I have that fixed now, is I can come here and I can exit here and I can revolve this gear to make sure it works. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose that same revolve mate. I'm going to use the center point of my axle to the top hole, and the reason I'm doing that, it's just easier to find. And then I'm going to come over here and offset that by 1 inch to center that. Now, just for perspective sakes, I'm going to put this on top of this. So I'm going to double click on this, and again, I can rotate this 90 degrees by transforming it, and then we can see I have my worm and wheel. So like in my previous videos, we're kind of just doing this in open space, so we don't have anything to attach it to, so we actually have to line our gears up. So I go to the front and the right views to line these up, and I'm going to come back to this and I'm going to move this a little more center, and let's come back to our front and we can drop this down a tad. Now again, if I was creating a part, I would have this axle running through something and I would have a bearing, or the bearing running through something of the axle to have these lined up. But for this demonstration, it looks like we're aligned. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up and set my gear relationship. The drive gear is on this bearing, so I'm going to choose that first, which is our worm, and then I'm going to choose to do that with our gear for our revolution. Now, the relationship isn't 1-to-1. There are, I believe it was 28 here to 1, so it's 1 to 28 is our gear ratio, which actually comes out to 0.036. So what that'll do is, by inputting the exact gear ratio in, when we animate this now, again, we got to animate our worm. We're going to come to animate, and we can see this. Now, I always like to put it down a few more steps so we can see it happen a little quicker. And we have an error. And I know what that error is now. We didn't fix this axle. So I didn't fix it in this space, so we had nothing to revolve around. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to animate. Let's drop it down to 200. Let's loop this. And now we'll see that worm spinning and then faster than the actual wheel. Now when I do this over the Screencastify, it doesn't spin as quickly on my computer as when it doesn't run. So when you run yours, you should see this the relationship running a little bit more clearly.